What up, Squared Nation? Welcome back to No Counters, No Combos, and today we're here with Ben, one of our local players from Level 1 Games, and he's going to go through his Gogeta BR deck. So, Ben, go ahead, take it away, man.
How's it going, guys? So I've been playing this deck for a couple weeks now. I've gone through a couple different changes on the list, but Adrian asked me to share what I've got, so here's what we got. So first thing we got is the 1-drops, so for the Goku, for the Vegeta. It's pretty self-explanatory. I think that these 8 cards are the most important cards in the deck. They give you the option to be aggressive or the option to be passive. So if you're playing against a deck where you need to be storming off and doing a lot of attacks, you can drop these guys for cheap. They go +1 as long as you hit a Veku or another, or the opposite, a Vegeta for the Goku, Goku for the Vegeta. And then you can swing with them, and then as long as they don't get killed by like a shocking death ball, you get it back to your hand. So these guys are really flexible because you can also just drop them, go plus, and then hold them, and then they come back to your hand for combo power. So these cards are really flexible. They give the deck a lot of different options. So then we go into the negates. So I run 4 After Image and 3, is that all you've got? So After Image Strike is pretty self-explanatory. It lets you play the negate for free, and since it's not technically a negate, it can help you get around stuff like Victory Strike, although if you're up against a Victory Strike with this deck, you've probably already lost. But After Image is also really good for spot removal. It helps you get rid of stuff on their board. Sometimes people like to swing at you with the 1-drop Broly before they've got the 4-drop in hand, and then you can just kind of kill it. Is That All You've Got is a really good card because it helps you leverage your massive hand. It's not uncommon for you to get to like 10, 11 cards by like turn 2 or 3. So Is That All You've Got lets you clear 2 cards off their board, negate a leader attack, and all it really costs you is 1 red card from your hand. So it's a really good card for helping you use some of the cards in your hand defensively. Up next we've got the super combo. So I run the Sparking Roshi super combo. I see some people running the Life super combo in Gogeta BR. I think that the Sparking super combo lends itself to a defensive strategy, where the Life super combo lends itself to offensive strategy, because of course, you know, with the front side of your leader, you could be taking life every turn. You can get yourself down to 4 life pretty quickly, even against decks that aren't necessarily swinging into you every turn. So those are the decks that you want to be running, the Life super combo. The Sparking super combo, you're pitching cards with your leader effect, you're pitching with like the 2-drops and stuff. So theoretically, it's not that hard to get Sparking 5, but it's kind of a matter of personal preference. Up next, we've got 3 of each of the 2-drops. So the 2-drops are a little bit less flexible than the 1-drops are. You hit more cards, you look at the top 5 instead of the top 3, but you need to have Sparking 2, so sometimes if you're not careful, you have to kind of awkwardly swing with your leader and combo something out of your hand to get the Sparking 2. But the Vegeta is kind of important because it gets that -5 through barrier. So if you're up against Lord Slug, you can kill the wings to screw over their discount. You can help the Goku get over some other stuff if you got both of them on board, if you're on like turn 4. The 2-drops are running 3s because you don't need to see them as often as the 1-drops. They're not as flexible, they're not as easy to play sort of on a whim. These are really good discard fodder for your leader. So then we're running the Vekus. So I run 3 of the fat Veku, 2 of the skinny one, and then 2 of the tournament pack Veku. This is the one with the Borges effect. So the Veku ratios are a little bit weird sometimes, because sometimes you want to run more of the skinny Veku because you want to be sniping stuff off their board. Most of the time you see people running 4 of the fat Veku because being able to attack stuff in active mode is pretty strong. And of course the tournament pack Veku is really strong because you need your your anti-untap stuff against like Super Shenron, Janemba. You got to be careful with this because sometimes people just kind of decide to go force their way through it. I've played against Super Shenron where they decide to untap anyway, and then they are able to mill themselves enough to get to the extra turn, so it doesn't really matter that I got to neg them in energy. So the Veku ratios are kind of also up to personal preference. Up next, we've got the 3-drop Goku and Vegetas, 2 the Goku, 3 the Vegeta. So the Vegeta is a lot more important because it's got that minus 10,000 through barrier. This lets you snipe pretty much anything off their board. The unfortunate part is that it can't, if you use the activate main to switch it to rest mode to look for a Goku, obviously you can't swing with it. So you kind of have to be smart with how you use the 3-drops, because you don't really want to play them on curve, because you never really want to leave yourself tapped out with this deck. And on turn 4, ideally you're playing your Gogeta or maybe a foreseeing hit, so you have to be really smart with how you run the 3-drops. The Goku's good because you can put it up to 20k and swing over something that's in active mode, like a Borgus or something like that, even though you don't really need to be worrying about 1-drops like that too often, but it's still something to keep in mind. Now we're getting into a bit of the tech stuff. So I play 2 Ginyu. Ginyu's cute more than anything. It'd be better if I was running M2 in this deck, which is something that I plan on including. But Ginyu is it's for three energy. You get a 25k beater that can swing into something that's in rest mode, or it can swing into their leader to take off a life for the most part. But the important thing, of course, is being able to steal something off their board. You just got to be smart with what you're trying to steal and how you're trying to steal it. So a good play, for example, would be if they've got the 6-drop Broly on board. If you have M2, you can swing with your leader, minus the Broly by 5k, then you can play the Ginyu and steal it without ever having to worry about the activate battle timing on the Broly kill skill. So run 2 Ginyu for the tech. Then we run 3 foreseeing hit. The 4-drop slot in this deck is kind of hotly contested because of the 6-drop Gogeta being Union Fusion for 4, and of course the game promo being a 4-drop when you're at 2 life. But Hit is just a really strong card if you're going up against a deck that relies a lot on combo power to stay alive. So Hit can also be a good scouting card, so if you're not in immediate danger of losing, you can drop the Hit, scout out to see if they have any negates in hand. It's also a good Bloodlust bait, because sometimes people get tunnel visioned on trying to keep their life totals up, and they'll go to Bloodlust the first thing you play, so you play the Hit, and then they Bloodlust it, and then you can play your 6-drop Gogeta safely the next turn. So then now we're getting into the Gogeta stuff. So there's 3 of the 6-drop, 3 of the 8-drop, and 2 of the 8-drop game promo. So the 6 and 8 drops from the pack are really important, obviously. The 6-drop is really good for getting board clear and threatening Broly, because Broly can't kill it, of course, unless they get the Bloodlust off. So you got to be smart with how you play it. And then the 8-drop, of course, is that threat of burning 2 life for free. If you're up against a deck like Janemba, something that doesn't really like playing cards on the board, this card is a really, really strong win condition. And then the 8-drop video game promo is your win con against more aggressive decks. Decks that don't really hold up energy for negates. If you can get them down to 3 life, and then drop this, they might not be ready to take 2 attacks at 35k each. So the Gogeta stuff is really just a really strong finisher package. Good stuff to keep in mind for when you're playing the deck.
So, what are your thoughts about the 7-drop box topper promo?
The 7-drop box top promo is kind of overlooked, I think. It's EX evolve for 1 red onto a 6-drop Gogeta, so really you're only evolving it onto the 6-drop from the pack, of course. So the problem with the 7-drop is that it's kind of like a worse Banisher, or not Dimensional Banisher Fu, the 10-drop Fu, Shrouded in Mystery, where it negates all their battle card skills. I tried running it. The problem is that while the deck list isn't tight enough for you to feel like you're running that you want that slot elsewhere, it's just an underwhelming card. It's really hard to have this 6-drop on board for more than a turn and hold up a single red energy. If you're playing this card on turn 5, which isn't awful, it's just hard to get to turn 5 against a lot of decks. Super Shenron, Masked Saiyan, anything that's playing really aggressively. So I feel like the 7-drop is just kind of underwhelming, and you'd much rather have stuff that's a little bit more productive against those decks.
Any changes that you would make in the future?
So, like I said, I want to make some room for Planet M2 in this deck. I think that the Ginyu strategy is like I said, Ginyu's cute in the deck. It's not like a huge win con, but I think with all the minus effects from the Vegeta cards, you can get some really good value plays with M2 because, of course, M2 is a free minus 5,000 power on a battle card. And if you get to minus something that's really important on their board, and then you get the Ginyu and you steal it, that's a pretty big game changer. I think it might be better as a side deck strategy, though. So I think maybe cut the Ginyus for something else a little bit more aggressive, because I feel like this deck has a lot of value, but not a lot of aggro right now.
So where do you position this deck right now in the meta, going up against like the top 3 decks right now?
So, I think a lot of the meta right now is a bit of rock, paper, scissors. So you see Super Shenron, Broly, Agents Dende, a lot of really weird Dende variants that, like the Trunks Dende that Adrian played a couple weeks ago. I think that Gogeta can do really well against decks that aren't ready to handle a flex deck. So that's like I was saying, the strength of this deck is that you can play aggressive, you can play passively, you have 7 negates, so you can handle aggro decks if you're smart with your energy management. So the problem is really just being able to go aggressive enough to deal with Super Shenron, because that's the big thing with Super Shenron, is that if it's got 1 yellow energy open, then you're looking for your Nimbuses, and you don't have anything like Battering Laser to deal with it. I think that Gogeta is more of a rogue pick than anything. It's a really strong leader and a really strong deck, but it's not quite there in terms of, like, it can do both aggro and control, but it can't do either as well as a deck that's dedicated to that strategy. So it's kind of like the typical mid-range style that you see in other video or other card games.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for taking time with us to show the deck profile. Any quick shout-outs before we get out of here?
Shout out to Level 1 Games. We're here every Tuesday. Great crowd, great fun. Shout out to David for running a great tournament and having a great group of people that we get coming out here every week. And thanks to Adrian for giving me the opportunity to show off my deck. And thank you guys for watching.
All right, so we'll see you guys in the next video. Be there or be squared.
No counters, no combos.